3, 2, 1, and rolling.
Well, Jim, it's very nice to have you here in our Dallas-Fort Worth area to visit and especially to talk about Labyrinth. I must tell you that something happened to me last night after that film that hasn't happened to me in a long time. We're talking maybe several years. When that movie concluded, they could have started it over again, and I would have been just as happy to sit through it a second time, because to me it is state-of-the-art everything, and there's so much to look at that, you know, my little eyes were just going crazy trying to see everything the first time.
That's nice. I think the film is kind of layered. It's got a lot of little detail things. The way a number of our performers work, they love to do things which upstage everybody else. And so while one piece of action is happening here, somebody's doing something cute over here or interesting. And so I do think the film does have a lot of little things which are interesting to go back and catch the second time.
George Lucas is your executive producer, so I have to ask you, how much creative control did he have?
Oh, George and I worked together. He came in fairly early on the project, and he helped shape the script and was very instrumental in sort of putting the story together. And then what I like particularly doing is the studio. I love directing and I love working with the characters and so forth. And then George also loves post-production and the editing, so he had a lot to say afterwards, and we worked together to shape the final picture. So it was a good collaboration. I think it worked nicely.
Was there ever a time, Jim, when you had artistic differences?
A little bit, but not much. It's funny, the whole process of doing a film is a collaborative one. You know, you work with everybody, and what you try to do is you try to get a lot of good people whose work you respect, and you all get together and you work on this thing together, and you end up with something that's better than any one of you would have done alone. And that's a good collaboration, and I think this one was that. And I couldn't think of anything where George and I came to any parting of the ways or anything like that. No.
One thing that impressed me about this picture, and it's something that I truly loved about it, but at the same time, I'll bet some critics are going to take you to task on it a little bit. Well, let's just go back to Dark Crystal. And many critics said that, you know, the characters were vicious and there was too much of that. And they said the same thing to George Lucas about Jabba the Hutt. And I personally found him gross. I didn't like him at all. But this movie, you have your protagonists and your antagonists, but you don't have anything really gross. Now, given the fact that they took you to task a little bit for Dark Crystal on that score, do you think some of these same critics now are going to say, well, he's gone too soft in Labyrinth?
Well, it's funny. I don't think we did Labyrinth that way because of that. I think you know, we were just looking to do a different kind of film. It's certainly a lighter film. You know, it is lighter. It is more comedic. It has you know, David Bowie's music. So the whole picture is a great. I think it's a very different kind of a film. It doesn't need the same kind of dark qualities that Dark Crystal had.
Does that make it more of a risk?
I don't know. In a picture like this, I think all you can do is you do the film you really want to do, and what you think is going to be the best movie, and then you hope people like it, and you hope the critics like it, and you hope the audience likes it. But I don't think you can start off trying to design something to please, you know, someone else's sensibilities.
How was it working with David Bowie? Because there seems to be a kind of mystique about this man, and there's a feeling among some people that maybe he's a little bit difficult to get along with.
Oh, not at all. Mystique, yes. The man has an incredible mystique, and when he's on the set, you can feel it. The crew, the visitors, the people around, everybody, you can tell that this man has a kind of mystique, a kind of attraction that's absolutely incredible. But as a person to work with, he's wonderful. I mean, he's very professional. He's on time. He always knows his lines. He's prepared. He doesn't travel with an entourage. So he's the opposite of what you think of a difficult rock singer. He's just a delight to work with, and I thought he did a terrific job myself.
Jim, what percentage of the characters were real people, and what percentage would be puppets or mechanicals?
We used a lot of different techniques. We had, certainly we had a whole army of goblins, and out of those goblins, which we had probably about, maybe 75 to 100 goblins, and we had a couple of dozen small people who were inside of costumes, but we were mixing that with marionettes and with radio control and hand puppets, so it's a fairly small portion of people inside. But as I say, we kept mixing the stuff around so that I forget myself. I see some of those shots and I can't really remember whether or not this was a hand puppet or somebody inside, you know? Because we kept changing too.
You say you worked on the movie 3 years. What then was the budget and the final cost?
Well, we don't talk about the budget. I don't
That bad, huh?
No, we were on budget, okay, we set up a budget, we came in under. But basically, I don't think it helps any big film to talk about how much it costs. If I see any picture, if you go into a theater and you watch for an hour and a half and you say, gee, was that film worth $10 million? Well, no, nothing is worth $10 million, you know? So I don't think it does any good to talk about how much it costs. Anytime you're trying to do a big fantasy film like this, you're talking big money though, you know, because it's all shot in studio, you have to create all those sets, and it is an expensive process.
Well, the money was well spent.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you think so.
I really like it very much, Jim, and I thank you for giving us the opportunity to meet with you and talk with you, and I really hope it does well, because it's the kind of picture that all ages, I think, can see and thoroughly enjoy.
Oh, well, I hope so.
And no Jabba the Hutts, nothing gross.
Well, thank you. Nice talking to you.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Pause.
Pause.
Stand by. 3, 2, 1, and rolling.
How much creative control did George Lucas have? Did you ever have times when you and Lucas just kind of locked horns with creative differences? Some of the critics who took you to task for having such vicious characters in Dark Crystal, I'm wondering if maybe they aren't the same critics who this time will say, well, he's gone too soft with Labyrinth. Does that concern you?
You don't want me sitting over there for eyeline, do you?
No, hon, that isn't
Be
necessary.
happy to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
David Bowie has such a mystique about him, and some people think that perhaps he would also be difficult to work with. Did you find that to be true? Jim, what did this movie cost? That bad, huh? What percentage of the characters were real people, and what percentage were mechanical or puppets or whatever? Okay. All right, now just some reactions.
You're terrific at this. Was I that funny?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bobbie.
I roll a few bars.
No.
You really are terrific at it. I'm